Chapter 37. The account of the appointment of Hyrcanus the son of Alexander to be king of the Jews, and of the return to Rome of the general of the Roman army. Having arranged these matters, Pompey appointed Hyrcanus to be king, and carried away his brother Aristobulus in chains. He also ordered that the Jews should have no dominion over those nations who had been subdued by their kings before his arrival, and he exacted a tribute from the city of the Holy House, and covenanted with Hyrcanus that he should receive inauguration from the Romans every year. And he departed, taking with him Aristobulus and 2 of his sons and his daughters. And he had a son remaining named Alexander, whom Pompey could not seize because he had fled. So Pompey placed in his room in the city of the Holy House Hyrcanus and Antipater, and with them his own colleague Scaurus. Chapter 38. The history of Alexander the son of Aristobulus. When Pompey had set out for Rome, Hyrcanus and Antipater marched against the Arabians to bring them under the dominion of the Romans, to which the Arabians submitted, trusting to their intimacy with Antipater, and praying great reward to his advice, by which acts Antipater designed to reconcile the Romans to him. Therefore, when Alexander the son of Aristobulus perceived the expedition of Hyrcanus, Antipater, and Scaurus against the Arabians, and that they had departed to a great distance from the holy city, he journeyed till he arrived there. And entering into the palace, he brought out thence money for the expense of repairing the city walls, which Pompey had broken down. And he raised for himself an army, and arranged all those matters which he wished, before Hyrcanus and his party should return to the city of the Holy House. And when they returned, he went out to meet them, and engaged them, and put them to flight. Chapter 39. The history of Gabinius, and of Alexander the son of Aristobulus. Now Gabinius had gone out from Rome to dwell in the land of Syria, and to take care of it, and it was told him what Alexander the son of Aristobulus had done, by building up that which Pompey had pulled down, and by opposing his successor and slaying his friends. Wherefore he went straight until he came to Jerusalem, and Hyrcanus and his party joined him, against whom Alexander went out with 10,000 foot and 1,500 horse, and encountered them. And they routed him, and slew a certain number of his friends, and he fled into a certain city in the land of Judah called Alexandrium, in which he fortified himself and his company. And Hyrcanus and Gabinius and their forces marched against him and besieged him. And Alexander went out against them, and engaged them, and slew great numbers of their men. And Marcus, who was called Antonius, marched against him, and forced him to flee into Alexandrium. Alexander's mother went out to Gabinius, deprecating his anger, and imploring him to grant her son Alexander his life. To whom Gabinius assented in that point, and Alexander went out to him, and Gabinius put him to death, and thought proper to divide the territories of Judah into 5 portions. One is the country of Jerusalem and the parts adjacent, and over this part Hyrcanus was made governor. Another portion is Gadara and the places about it. The third is Jericho and the plains. The fourth is Hamath and the land of Judah. And the fifth is Sepphoris. By these means he intended to remove wars and sedition out of the land of Judah, but they were by no means removed. Chapter 40. The history of the flight of Aristobulus and his son Antigonus from Rome, and their return into the land of Judah, also an account of the death of Aristobulus. Then Aristobulus devised plans, till he had succeeded in escaping from Rome with his son Antigonus, and had arrived in the city of Judah. And when Aristobulus showed himself in public, a great multitude of men flocked round him, out of whom he selected 8,000, and marched against Gabinius, and engaged him. And there were slain of the Roman army a very great number. There fell also of his own men 7,000, but 1,000 escaped, and the enemy's army pursued him. But he and they who were left to him ceased not to resist, even till the total destruction of his men. Nor was there one left but he alone, and he fought most furiously until he fell overpowered by his wounds, and was taken and led to Gabinius, who ordered him to be taken care of until he was healed. And he sent him in chains to Rome. And he remained shut up in prison until the reign of Caesar, who brought him out of prison and loaded him with gifts and favors. And giving to him 2 generals and 12,000 men, sent him to the land of Judah to detach the Jews from Pompey's party and bring them over to obey Caesar, for Pompey at that time was governor of the land of Egypt. And the report of Aristobulus and his party reached Hyrcanus, who was greatly afraid, and wrote to Antipater to avert his power from him by his customary devices. So Antipater sent some of the chief men of Jerusalem, giving to one of them poison, charging him to administer it craftily to Aristobulus. And they met him in the land of Syria, as though they were ambassadors to him from the holy city, and he received them joyfully, and did eat and drink with him. And those men laid plots till they gave him the poison, and he died, and was buried in the land of Syria. Now the time of his reign until he was taken prisoner the first time was 3 years and a half, and he was a man of courage, weight, and excellent disposition. Now Gabinius had written to the Senate to send away his 2 sons of his mother, since he had requested it, which he did. But it came to pass that when Pompey had departed to a great distance from Jerusalem, they broke their engagement of obedience to the Romans. Wherefore Gabinius went against them, encountered them, and conquered them, and reduced them again to submission to the Romans. In the meantime the land of Egypt rebelled against Ptolemy, and expelled him from his royal city, refusing to pay tribute to the Romans. Whereupon Ptolemy wrote to Gabinius that he should come and help him against the Egyptians, that he might bring them again into subjection to the Romans. And Gabinius marched out of the country of Syria, and wrote to Hyrcanus to meet him with an army, that they might go to Ptolemy. And Antipater went with a large army to Gabinius, and met him at Damascus, congratulating with him on the victory which he had gained over the Persians. And Gabinius ordered him to hasten to Ptolemy, which he did, and fought against the Egyptians, and slew of them a very great number. Afterward Gabinius coming up replaced Ptolemy on his throne, and went back to the holy city, and renewed Hyrcanus' sovereignty, and returned to Rome.